series On the Couch with Dean Webster. I'm Karen Webster and I'm the Dean and Principal here at LCI in Melbourne. And I am here today with Melanie Huang, who's one of our incredible alumni. And so welcome back to LCI here in Collingwood, Melanie. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, thank you.
The only thing is I say that with a tinge of sadness really, because we shouldn't be here in Collingwood today really. No, I know. We were hoping to be, both of us wanted to be down in Tasmania, because we're both great fans of Dark Mofo.
Yes, huge fans.
And yeah, I had a most awesome time there last year. There's so much to do. Tell me, why do you love Dark Mofo?
Well, I had actually never been to the festival until I got a job working for the festival.
What an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, very, very wild. It was an amazing opportunity, and working in the digital team and working with such an amazing brand that's so flexible. It was a dream opportunity.
And you had a part in designing their website?
Yeah, so...
Because that website is absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, well...
It really tells the story, it brings you in.
Oh, for sure. I think I was battling a lot with making a very sensible website that people can use, and that's kind of the mantra of digital design. But also like having fun with the brand and exploring and not being afraid to explore kind of unknown territories.
I suppose that's what Dark Mofo is all about, not being afraid to explore unknown territories.
Exactly.
So you captured the spirit of it, and it was really engaging. And it took you in, you wanted to be part of it, and I'm sure people got lost in that website and probably still lost it and haven't found their way out again.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's you working on awesome things like that that has probably led to you, and a massive congratulations to you for being nominated and then winning the creative section of B&T's 30 Under 30.
Yeah. Okay,
so tell everybody here what 30 Under 30 means.
So there's a list that's published, and there's 30 names on the list, and there are 10 categories. So it's a huge honour to be part of that list, and it ranges everywhere from creative to media to producers to directors, all sorts of creative people on that.
And you have to be under 30 years of age.
Yes.
Yeah. So what they're really watching is, well, it's the ones to watch, isn't it? It's like who's making a real mark in their creative industries. So you've won your category, so you're not only in the top 30, you're in the top 10, really, aren't you? And they did a virtual ceremony today, because you couldn't go out in the big wide world at the moment.
Yeah, which is a bit of a bummer, because those ceremonies are usually a lot of fun, and they're held in Sydney. But it was actually a lot of fun doing it online, and they had Nat's What I Reckon host the show, a YouTube star.
Brilliant.
And he was a good laugh. He was a real good laugh.
Did you have to make a speech?
No, they didn't tell us beforehand, and so I think logistically kind of crossing over to the winners is probably too hard.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, they just announced it. They got us to make these like fun boomerang gifts, and then they posted out our award to us. So I have a physical award in my house now, which is kind of lovely.
Wonderful. And has it led to anything? Have people contacted you yet? Besides us, of course.
Leads to things like this. No, it's really just a celebration from my company, and people kind of congratulating me there. But also it's been a chance to talk more openly about what I do as well. Because a lot of people, especially in my friends network or friendship circle or family circle, they're kind of a bit baffled by what kind of designer I am.
What a great segue to asking you, what is it you do? What's a typical day for you? And tell us a little bit about the company that you work for and your role. That would be amazing.
Yeah, okay. So I'm the lead designer of a research and development group inside of AKQA, which is a global agency. And we work on a huge range of projects, but essentially it's me as the designer and two other developers, one that specialises in machine learning, and we look at emerging technology and how we can help communities with that technology.
Wow, it sounds massive though, you know, R&D.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've got a whole mass of you wearing white coats, running around inventing incredible things.
Yeah.
But I look at, you know, I really encourage everyone to look Melanie up, look at your website, look at your LinkedIn page, because what I feel you do is you're at the height of collaboration. You know, people are talking about collaboration being the new black, but you're living and breathing it every single day. How important is collaboration to your work?
Oh, I couldn't do what I do without other people collaborating with me. And a lot of the time, I'm kind of brought into the room because I kind of cross two different disciplines. So I sit between design and technology, and having someone be that bridge is really important in collaborations as well. And so, yeah, it's been vital to my career and vital to what I'm kind of known for, I guess, and what my clients come to me for.
And that's why you've won this award, because you are bridging that area of design and technology. And I suppose design can be technology and technology can be design.
Yeah.
But it seems that you're really doing things in a completely new area. What are you currently working on? What's one of the jobs you're currently working on?
Probably the one I'm most excited about at the moment is a collaboration with Tennis Australia, I think.
Yeah.
And Monash University's Sensi Lab, which is their technology lab.
Yep.
And we're doing a accessibility project for the Australian Open, and looking at ways to sonify the game of tennis for people with vision impairment. So
incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. And it's a long-term project, but it's been really exciting to kind of work with those communities and get the positive feedback that we're doing something useful.
It seems to me that the work you do makes a difference. You've got a real...
We try. We try.
But you change people's lives, and really great design, that's what great design is all about, is changing people's lives. Do you think Australia's at the forefront of doing something like that? You know, working here with Tennis Australia, is that an opportunity to really take those concepts to the rest of the world?
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many people involved in that project in particular. But it really helps to have kind of research departments and larger company organisations, both corporate and community-based organisations, to be part of the design process as well. Yeah, I guess the collaboration in how the project is even run is really important in getting something that's useful at the end of it.
So that's a great area to start thinking about. How do you approach your creative process? Like, well, how do you go about coming up with your ideas, you know, from taking a brief from a client? What would be the first thing you would start doing? Do you have a methodology or anything like that? It's completely dependent on the project.
Because of the space that I work in terms of research and development, it could be anything. So, you know, for the blind tennis stuff, it was more about, I guess, sonification and learning about different types of sound, learning about blind tennis, learning about the tennis game, learning about what data we can get. Yes, I do actually.
Well, that's fortunate.
Which is super helpful. But it was really about finding all the pieces, I guess, and getting your inspiration from that. So I guess it's not so much a creative process, but really a collaboration between like all the organisations involved and all the people in the team that are going to produce the work as well, and to try and see how the pieces fit.
So some of the projects you work on, like like that's going to take a long time to work through that one. So I imagine the creative process is quite drawn out. Yeah. Do you ever have to work on any projects that are quicker, faster projects?
I guess within each stage, they're quicker processes.
Right.
So we have different kind of points or checkpoints in which we have to develop something. So the first thing that we did was really look at what data is available and try and sonify that and put it in front of a person.
And
to see if
that,
it's useful and testing that before you kind of commit to a 2, 3, 5 year project.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the stage that we're in now, just discovery and trying to find what's going to be the most useful. Yeah.
Wow. Were you always creative? Like as a kid, were you making things, doing things, or were you especially your fascination with technology? Were you kind of taking things apart and looking at how they were made?
Yeah, I do. I probably attribute it to my family that was very IT based, and they used to bring home kind of these computers that were old and that no one wanted. And they became my computer, and I got the opportunity to kind of be involved in the internet when, you know, you could just make your own crappy website and just put it online. And for me, that is the creative outlet of technology. And so I've never really seen the difference between creativity and technology. It was just stuff that I built because I wanted to express myself. So yeah, it's never been two worlds for me. It's always been the one world.
I love that you bring home the old computers and you have a play with it and you went, I'll just whip up my own website. And it's, you know, these days there's platforms you can use to do that.
Yeah.
But when you would have started out, it would have just been really quite inventive.
Yeah, well that was the whole thing, because back then there was no platform, so you had to learn how to do it yourself if you wanted to do it. So that's always just been my mantra. If you want to build it, just try and build it.
And
just
you
try and do it.
That's a bit of your creative approach today, that because you seem to be spearheading new, completely fresh new areas, and it's a bit of a challenge, but you're not frightened by that challenge.
No, I love it. I love it. Give me it.
So it's still unpacking and discovering something new.
Yeah.
It's just getting bigger and better.
Yeah. Yeah.
More global.
Yeah.
Have you got something in your life that you've created that's a favourite piece, or something that you've done that you that kind of maybe been a milestone moment that changed your life, or something that you think back on and really enjoyed creating?
Look, it's probably a collaboration I'm currently doing with Chambermaid.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's called System Error, and it's working with two performers who have built this machine where they've laid down, I guess, cable or conductive tape, essentially, onto the dance floor or onto the stage, and when they touch said conductive tape, it creates sound and light, or sound and visuals. So I'm working on the visual component. There's a person, Alistair, who's working on the sound design, and then Alistair and Tamara are both performing the piece. And
so Chambermaid's a independent dance or performance company.
Yeah. So they work in a very multidisciplinary way as well.
Yes.
So they get in, like, you know, laser artists or stage design, choreographers, set design, performers, artists, everyone you can think of has kind of been through there. And they have an incredible approach that I've never really experienced in any other discipline before. And just this idea of getting three people in a room and just vibing off each other and jamming on concepts that we're talking about and discussing. And Alistair will obviously sonify that, and I'll visualise that, and Tamara's kind of putting the whole piece together. And it's just incredible to watch kind of the movement of body and light and sound all coming together in that way.
And no performance would be the same.
No, it's
because as they touch the senses, each performance they would be touching in different ways. Even if they tried to choreograph it exactly the same, it could never be exactly the same. So every time you would see it would be a unique opportunity.
Completely, and it's about kind of designing it in a way that kind of works to its advantage as well. Because a lot of the time I work with designers a lot, and you have a very distinct idea of what you want as your final output. And I think if you're working in the design and technology space, you don't really have that ability to kind of set exactly what it's going to look like.
You're only one component of it.
Yeah, exactly. So being flexible in that way and using it to your advantage is definitely a real strength that I think you have to have if you're working in this space. You can't be too precious about how it's going to look. Yeah.
So you know that, like, here at LCI, we're advocates for what I call cross-pollination, that the way that we teach design is that you don't have to work in a silo. So what I love talking to you about is the fact that when you did your degree and now what you're doing out there in the world is really exploring this concept of how you fuse different design disciplines together. Did you ever think when you were studying that you'd be where you are today?
No, completely not. Like, I never imagined that I'd ever be able to travel for my job or, collaborate with dancers or collaborate with cultural spaces and organisations that are doing such large-scale works. I never really kind of dreamed that, but I think I always knew that I wanted to get into the interactive installation kind of world, and so I already had this kind of digital, physical type relationship that I was looking for in my practice, and that kind of opened doors to other things. And I think the flexibility, I guess, of LCI and their curriculum is that you were able to do that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to kind of commit to advertising or design or any kind of like
just one singular discipline.
A singular department in a university. And I think that's kind of what attracted to me in the first place. And so I was already kind of looking at stuff like that before I came through LCI's doors.
We like you. So you travel with your work, do you?
Yeah.
Well, not at the moment.
No.
Where are some of the great places you've been to?
Shanghai was definitely interesting.
How good is Shanghai? Isn't it inspirational?
Yeah, inspirational and very hectic.
Yeah, it is hectic. Right?
Yeah, didn't realise how laid back we are in Australia. But yeah, I worked for Adidas China in Shanghai, and Pullman hotels in Hong Kong.
Oh, brilliant. What a great opportunity.
Yeah, they were doing this like foyer art kind of exploration. And it was, how many screens would it be? Like 15 screens in the foyer. And it was kind of this media wall essentially that they were setting up, and figuring out what to do with it was my job. When I was in Shanghai, I was working with Grain and Pixel, the agency, and we were working with Adidas China. And
how amazing!
Yeah, really, really stressful job, but I don't regret it. It was an innovation lab that was trying to celebrate their foam in their shoes, in their sneakers, and we did like an interactive treadmill and interactive graphics and like all these different stations as shoe kind of recommender, and it was really, really wonderful, and that ended up traveling around China. And with the same agency, they took me out to Hong Kong, and we went to Pullman hotels, which were doing a complete renovation on their foyer. And
the Pullmans are incredible in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Great hotel to work with.
Oh, it was incredible, and it was the Park Lane, if you've ever been there.
Oh my goodness,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, which is like in the centre of Hong Kong. And they put up a 15-screen video wall that was, because they had redesigned it as kind of all reflective, you had these visuals that were reflecting all throughout the foyer, and it actually turned out beautiful. I'm really, really happy with it. Yeah.
So you got to do some really amazing things.
Yeah.
So when you were a student, was there an experience or a moment when you were a student that made you realise that this was going to be what your future was about?
Yeah, most definitely. I think through LCI we went to AG Ideas, which was the design conference at the time.
I miss all of those things happening at the moment.
I know.
But we're going to reinvent all of this stuff in a virtual space, which is only
sure.
going to benefit someone like you, because you're the inventor that can create these platforms and these incredible environments for everyone to present and showcase their work in. But sorry, I interrupted you. So tell me about.
We have a lot of like virtual event jobs coming up, so that's really exciting.
So AG Ideas was a bit of a defining moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think when I came straight out of school, I didn't really know that design was so big.
Yes.
I was kind of you could be a graphic designer or you could be an artist, and there were the two options on the table. And when I went to AG Ideas, I remember distinctly seeing a work by Ines, E-N-E-S-S, and they're a Melbourne studio, and they had done these large-scale, like projection, interactive installation type projects, with like reactive graphics in real time. And I just had never seen design done like that before. And it just blew my mind.
Opened your eyes.
It really did. And it's not until I was kind of in that moment that I realized that this is what I want to do. With the help of LCI, also going on an exchange to do interactive media design whilst I was abroad.
So where was your exchange?
At Northumbria University.
Yes, so
in the UK.
we're still working with Northumbria.
Oh, lovely.
So,
So I did interactive media design and graphic design there. And that's when I learned how to code properly and electronics, and kind of opened my design language up to all these different tools I never knew I could have access to. So that's what I'm really passionate about now, really trying to bring those tools into the design space and to designers and creative practitioners.
So what advice would you give today to our current cohort of students? What would you say to them to try and do to open their eyes?
Probably pursue something you're really passionate about, like something that lights you on fire, that you just can't not do.
How lucky are we as designers that we can follow our heart and do something that gets us out of bed in the mornings, and we can make a career out of it, we can earn a living out of it, we can travel the world with it, but it gives us complete joy. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I feel so lucky, honestly. I feel so lucky to have a job that I'm really passionate about, that I really feel like I have a lot of space to grow in. But also, I guess, bringing back to the point of finding that thing that sets you on fire, I think that you really need to have that passion for it, because it's not the easiest road to take, but it's definitely worthwhile if you can find kind of where you fit in that landscape.
So we've heard a lot of the fun things about your job and all the great things you've done, but were there any hurdles? Were there challenges? Was there things that kind of tested you at any time?
Yeah, I think there was definitely a defining moment where I had to switch gears within my career.
Right.
For a long
pretty
time.
normal.
Yeah. I feel like I spent the first kind of couple of years doing interactive installations and doing more event activations and things like that. And I got to a point where I felt like I needed to be more purposeful with the things that I was designing, and not being kind of driven to where I work and the clients that they are going to get. And that's pretty normal, I guess, as a junior designer. You don't really have choice in the matter. But I started to find more companies that kind of align with the things that I wanted to explore, and the skills that I wanted to get. And being really upfront with the employer about things like that as well has really, really been helpful. So yeah, I kind of went from the interactive installation world to kind of websites and UX, UI, then to kind of product design in terms of digital product design, and then kind of looped back around into my creative technology and research and development roles. So it's it's been really, really great. But I think that was a huge hurdle for me to kind of take the leap and be conscious of the things that I was choosing for myself, that I didn't realise I was choosing by taking the job.
I love the idea that you also see the value of talking, to communicating with the people that you're working with. And, I see it as being really important. It's not saying, hey, you have to do this for me, but maybe I could offer this to your company. Would you give me the opportunity if I could enhance the company in this way? So if you frame it in the positive, very rarely can people say no if you can give them a good case.
Yeah, and I think it defines you as well. It sets you apart from other designers that are applying for the role.
What's your value?
Yeah, what can you bring? What's different about you?
Yeah.
What's different about your experience? And I think that's always what I guess employers have fed back to me about, that like, a designer that codes, but you're also like into installations. And I think that when you find the right people and you find your people, I think it's a very easy fit.
Yes, of course.
You can identify each other.
So we've talked about your past, we've talked about what you're working on now, but what's next for you?
So on the side, I've been running workshops through my own company called Technicolor, and it is providing technical education to creative practitioners.
What don't you do, Melanie? It's incredible. Like, so you've got a full-time job, but you've got your own company as well. And,
I will stipulate it's 4 days a week that I'm doing my full-time job. I've been exploring more teaching options now. So I'm a lecturer as well as doing these workshops.
I have to get you back here. That's the other way.
Well, I'm just around the corner, so
please.
Anytime.
We've got it on camera now.
So I've been doing these workshops, teaching technical education to creatives, and I think that's a really important space at the moment. But technical education that isn't kind of, I'm not going to say boring, but there's this kind of preconception for most people, especially creatives that come into the technical landscape, that you have to learn how to code and you need to know about computers,
or something
it's
like
too
that,
nerdy and it's like behind the screen.
I'd say
all
creative. You've got to, because what it is a vehicle for creativity.
100%.
It opens you up. It gives you more opportunities.
Yeah, correct. And I think that's the missing piece that most people don't get the narrative of. So I've been trying to frame it with pattern making or solvable electronics or typography and animation, and even we've been doing pattern design to print out for fabrics or wallpapers. So framing coding education in that way has really on the design side really opened up another tool for creative practitioners, but on the technical side as well has really opened up the creative side for some people that know how to code but didn't realise that they could do these things and have this vehicle of expression. So I think that's really important in my workshops, that I kind of facilitate that.
So I'm going to ask you one last question, just to finish it all up. Where next do you think for this world? We're in this kind of very strange climate at the moment, but we've got very used to working within a digital space. We crave creativity, we crave great design. Where do you think things will go in the next 10 years? Have you thought about where the direction will be and how we might harness some of that? I know that's a massive question.
Huge question.
But, have a little go at trying to answer it. It's because I'm fascinated for our students as well. The opportunities out there are now quite significant. So what do you see as the future of that kind of fusion of design and technology?
In my ideal world?
Yes, please.
I guess I would love to see more designers experimenting in that kind of in-between space, in between science, in between technology, in between mathematics, in between literature, whatever it is. Because I feel like designers and creative practitioners especially have this really incredible gift to be able to do something purposefully.
Yes.
And that's where I'm really excited to kind of see the new generation of designers, and how that evolves and how more industries kind of open up to each other and multidisciplinary people come out of it. And I guess seeing that reflected back into the education system, I think is super important for us. Because as I said, as a designer, I just felt like I could be a graphic designer or an artist, and they were my only options, And I thought I found this really...
And now you're that and so much more.
Yeah, and it, no one tells you that in high school, or no one tells you that in primary school, and I think, opening up careers and opening up multidisciplinary collaboration is going to be super important to solve kind of the biggest problems. Yeah.
You've just hit such a raw nerve for me, because I'm hearing at the moment about where investment needs to go in education, and people are talking about the STEM disciplines. Why do we separate it off?
Yeah.
Because designers are creative thinkers that are problem solvers, and you put the creative thinkers and problem solvers with the science and the maths and the technology, and the outcomes can be quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, and I suppose that's exactly what you're doing,
yes,
Melanie.
Yeah, for sure. We have the acronym, I think, is now STEAM.
Yes.
With the added artist. in there, and I think that's going to be vital for education in the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bring it all together and collaborate.
Yeah, and build it. Everyone should build things.
So Melanie, thank you so much for being on the couch with me here today, and all the best with your future. I can tell right now that you're going to take this world on and go places. So watch the name, Melanie Huang. You're going to see that out in the world, and can't wait to have you back here doing some workshops with our students. So thank you very much.